What's good? What's good? What's good? We back in the building. It's your boy Beanie, aka Emerald Thoughts, aka your favorite casual, aka Mr. LeBron James hater, as they love to say, or is I'm just a guy with motherfucking, unbiased criticism, that they just assume is hate. But I was literally gonna make a whole Tory Lanez, or I wasn't. I haven't decided. I didn't decide yet. Little baby or Tory Lanez album review, but I seen the guy is trending, the GOAT of our generation, LeBron James, which is arguably, it's really not arguable. Like you could argue whether he's the GOAT of all generations, but for our generation, most definitely the greatest of all time. And besides that, man, I thought it was only see fit to kind of get into these conversations because a lot of these things are near and dear to the heart on how I kind of feel about them, and been arguing for honestly weeks about kind of the things that had went down between Stephen A. and LeBron, and me being in media and me always having an infatuation for media to some degree. I always give media its respect, and I just didn't love LeBron James's approach, and it felt calculated. It felt like he was trying to send a message in a sense, but at the same time, he wanted it to come off as organic, and I just didn't feel that, at least in my eyes. Maybe he really was emotional, and just the fact that he seen Stephen A. just erupted. But to me, it felt like he was looking into the camera, peeking at the camera, trying to make sure all the angles was good. It just didn't feel real to me. And with me saying that, it's just kind of an intro to understanding, like, it's all about the intent a lot of these times, and a lot of things that LeBron James do, I really wouldn't be too upset about him, but it's when you start to understand his intent behind some of these things that he's doing, even from this Pat McAfee show. This isn't just some random interview and things like that, and just wanting him to just show face and stuff like that. Nah, he's been hearing certain public things. He's getting later in his career, and he might either get a little more agitated or whatever you want to call it, but this seems like a calculated move. And what's funny about it is he's warring with media, but at the same time don't have a problem using media. And that's the biggest hypocrisy that I've been seeing with this LeBron James conversation, and how they've been trying to kill Stephen A. They've been trying to kill Skip. They've been trying to kill the debate platform and talk about how these guys are just careless with their narratives, careless with this and that. But when they get their platform, they have no problem having these same hot take barbershop talks and all these things that y'all kill Stephen A. for being so casual for. Most people still to this day will have these same conversations. So like I said before, media is responsible for pushing narratives, but coaches push narratives, fan bases push narratives, owners push narratives, players push narratives, and even the fucking film guys push narratives, because them pushing a narrative that the mid-range is dead, or for instance, the running backs aren't needed anymore, has fucked up how balanced certain games was, and how the reason why we love these games is because of how they were so nuanced and balanced. And now there's just an offensive show. Same with defensive. Like, oh, people want to see offense. Yes, we do want to see offense, but nigga, not unguarded, unfiltered, a flag every damn play. So a lot of people are responsible for creating narratives. When owners do it and coaches do it, it's like usually it's to get a guy out of the locker room. I remember with DeAndre Hopkins, they brought up the story of where his baby mama was coming into the offices or coming to, like, it was some crazy story that you knew that they were really just trying to get the fan base to understand why we were moving off of him. Fan bases do it all the time. I mean, OKC, I know it was out of emotion. We call Kevin Durant a cupcake. We might even help push the narrative of our guy should be MVP with MVP chance. All-star, all type of things that fans are held responsible for when it comes to narrative. So with this conversation, it's kind of coming from the aspect of, if you know LeBron and how calculated he is, it's just hard for me to bite a lot of this bullshit, because let's just be real. He only has a problem with media when the narratives aren't going his way. He only have a problem with media when people are holding him accountable. And it's tough, because I believe he got his own bought and paid for media pundits, But he has his fanboys, even if they aren't bought and paid for it. And there's plenty of people loud screaming that he's the GOAT, that he's the best of all time, or no one should ever question him. There's plenty of people saying that, but it get egotistical when the conversation comes to LeBron because it's not everyone that's saying it. And the fact that he was able to turn on a Brian Windhorst, a guy that's been covering him since high school, a guy that's probably close to them to some degree. Now he's saying they ain't never talked. He's saying that he's a fake best friend. Like not saying he was a fake best friend. The fact that Windhorst thought he was a friend of LeBron is like bullshit or something. It's some weird shit. But to me, it just speaks to honestly, it's bitch made to me. Honestly, it's soft. Honestly, it's disloyal as fuck. And it's the same microcosm of shit that he does on the court. Leaves his teammates, call out his teammates, do little slick shit like it when it don't go his way. But when it's this way, oh, he's Mr. I know everybody's handshake and shit like that. But whole time you conspiring to get people up out of here when it don't go your way. And to see it happen live in the flesh with a guy that's been so fucking loyal to LeBron James. The only thing Brian Windhorst did was have a comparison to why he believed that LeBron early in his career made certain decisions is because he had an idol in Michael Jordan. Even if he was a tad bit off, it wasn't like he was malicious with that statement. He was like, you signed to Nike because Jordan. If maybe that wasn't your only reason, it had a slight edge to it. Especially if you go back, and we're gonna get into this, but this is my intro before I get to sending all of this out and stuff like this. I do gotta take a little break and send these to this live to get some people in here or something like that. But all that to be said is LeBron turning on Windhorst just because he might have had something a little bit off is insane. For a guy that's covered him like super favorably throughout his whole career. And even in that moment where he did have it was almost like he was stating a fact. He wasn't even giving a criticism. He completely turns his back on this man and throws him to the wolves. And I think it just speaks to a lack of character. Like, and I get it. It's LeBron. He's a billionaire. Who gives a fuck what I think? But like I said, I'm in this media thing and I got my opinions. And whether you like them or not, man, some shit just got to be said. Some shit got to be said. So we'll start off with some of the things that I've seen on Twitter. And this is kind of be just looking, because he's trending right now. So we're just going to kind of go through the conversations on Twitter and see what the public is feeling, along with, some other media guys. How do you get to my likes? I be acting like a fucking novice sometimes. All right, here we go.
I have worked with Brian Windhorst for years. Never once did he say that LeBron was a best friend. A matter of fact, years earlier, it was LeBron who sat in front of the microphones and said, probably nobody knows me better than Brian Windhorst, who's been covering me since I was in junior high school. But that's how he talked about him. Brian Windhorst is an exceptional commentator who does a phenomenal job for ESPN. My show, Get Up, NBA Today, Sports Centers, goes and covers the game. He is one of the elite people covering the NBA in this world. And nobody, I repeat, nobody defends LeBron James more than that man. And look at what LeBron James did.
What the fuck? When did this shit change? Oh, I'm mad as fuck. What the fuck was my... I'm so upset that this shit was wrong. I don't know. When the fuck did this change back to my old stream? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? Mm. Bro, why I'm high as shit. That word is fucking with me. Let me see something before we get this. Let me send this shit to Twitter. Man, that's how you spell it. I don't know why I'm tripping. Is it updated? Low key upset about that. There it goes. All right. Let's resend this. We live in the flesh. We back in the building. All right, man. So we're gonna react back to this. Let's cut this Stephen A. back on. We'll react to it again.
I have worked with Brian Windhorst for years. Never once did he say that LeBron was a best friend. A matter of fact, years earlier, it was LeBron who sat in front of the microphones and said, probably nobody knows me better than Brian Windhorst, who's been covering me since I was in junior high school. But that's how he talked about him. Brian Windhorst is an exceptional commentator who does a phenomenal job for ESPN. My show, Get Up, NBA Today, Sports Centers, goes and covers the game. He is one of the elite people covering the NBA in this world.
And it just speaks to how egotistical LeBron comes off when he disses a guy like Brian Windhorst. I don't know if he's not aware of the public reception of a lot of things, but he doesn't seem to be connected to reality a lot of times, because a lot of people always looked at Brian Windhorst as a guy that is super favorable to LeBron James and players in general. You never really see Brian Windhorst say anything unprofessional or unbecoming most of the time. Like, usually Brian Windhorst keeps shit how you would expect an NBA kind of commentator to approach a game. Like, he's going to speak on it from a fair perspective. He might speak from both sides, but for the most part, he's always pushing these guys forward with love and things like that. He rarely ever was a guy that was bringing up contentious conversations. And like I said, even the thing that he said about LeBron, like, for LeBron to act that way is so snakish to me. It's low-key a little bitch made, just because of a guy like Windhorst has been riding for you. And all it took was one time, and really one thing that you took personal, because what Windhorst said really wasn't even that serious. But like I said, a guy seems to be a little aloof on how people may perceive these things that he's been doing. Like I said, so he comes to Pat McAfee's show, and it seems like it's just going to be a cool show and shit like that. But he came to dispel a lot of the narratives and re-put out the narratives. A lot of the narratives he don't like, and re-put out some narratives that he do like, along with attack some people and do a lot of different things that you claim that Skip and Stephen A. be doing. And it's no different. Like I said, these players love, and I even see some YouTubers love to shit on Stephen A. and all these guys that's built a lane for us, whether it's YouTube or not. But at the end of the day, the Gills Arena do the same shit. I love Jeff T. I love all these shows that I mentioned. Like Low, they put their shit. Omar, B-Souls, and all of them. They have their narratives that they spit, and they have their ways of being barbershop too. They do have way more balance. I will give you that. But at the same time, we all engage in these GOAT conversations. We all engage in casual conversation, but it's like we demifying casuals all of a sudden. Bro, at heart, we all are casuals to some degree because we all have those. We all are fans of shit. That's the thing. If you're a fan of anybody, at some point you're a casual, bro. Because either you love the game and you don't give a fuck about, like, you just kind of look at it like a ref and just kind of go through shit unbiasedly, or you really cut for niggas. Flaws with their flaws and all. So at some point, we all go to the games and wearing jerseys and and eat the hot dogs and nachos like regular casual niggas do. So it's just like, I just don't like this pretentious ass, hypocritical ass narratives that niggas been making, because everybody do it. It's just the guys you don't like is low hanging fruit. Stephen A is considered low hanging fruit, even though how lit he is, but he's easy to pick on. And people said that even about LeBron going up to him. Like, you do that because you know he's easy to pick on, but at the same time, not understanding the consequences that come with that same energy. Like, all you did was give Stephen A more of a platform. All you did was give Stephen A another chance to train. Now, the last 2 or 3 times he's talked about this, as far as the rebuttal of what happened in that situation, he's trended. You didn't kill his vibes or anything like that. So even what you was trying to accomplish, it didn't work. That's why I say when he be trying to play chess, sometimes nigga be getting checkmated and he don't be liking that shit. It seemed like he turns emotional. But let's kind of look at some of these comments. LeBron Dick Riders, everything Stephen A said was fact. Windhorst is a cornball, but LeBron himself said those words. Out of nowhere, bashes Windhorst. LeBron is the biggest snake. And I haven't read any of these comments before. Windhorst got off clutch payroll years ago. The get back was coming sooner or later. But even then, even if that is true, he off the payroll, he still ain't said nothing that crazy about LeBron for him to spaz. Because he still showed him a certain amount of loyalty for a long time. His tone is like LeBron shot Windhorst. Look how serious his face is. I mean, to a degree, bro, when you understand how, like, much of a betrayal that is for a guy that covered you since high school that really ain't did nothing to spite you to flip on that nigga on something that little, I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of sick, especially when you talk about how much Windhorst has helped propel LeBron. LeBron was obviously a great talent, but bro, when you got people actually covering you and putting out certain narratives that actually got connections and shit, bro, that shit has helped you propel just as much, bro. So I'm not saying he wouldn't have done it without it, but Windhorst, low key, the pun is in his name. He was a win to that horse. Like, he put win in those sales. Let's just be real. Like, the sales was huge for LeBron. Like, the nigga had crazy potential. But to act like Windhorst and many other media pundits haven't been out there helping him build a legacy would be delusional. And the fact that it could be one way, but when other people are just fans of you, you can't just eat that and just be, like, understand that's a part of the game. Like I said, it come off as egotistical. The fact that everyone can't love you. Stephen A is right. This was what the fuck? Contemptible? Cheap shot. I don't even know that. I've never even seen that word. Let's look that up. I hate to pass up something that I never seen before. Deserving contempt or despicable.
Contemptible.
Contemptible. Okay. That's what's up. And even this shit was bitch made. Like, LeBron to check somebody that he knows is easy to check. I'm a buck at an old white woman on the live on TV and act like I'm this cool ass dude. Like, so it was kind of cringe even in that moment, but people let him make it for real, for real. Bron just owns him. Scary Steven. This guy don't know when to zip it. Grow up. LeBron was upset because Wendy said he joined Nike because of MJ. 10 seconds later, he said he joined Nike so he could wear Jordans. That's the funniest shit. Let's go to that video. Let's go to that video.
He played in the 50s. There's a little taste of the...
Actually, that's not the right one. we'll go to it later. We'll come up. I remember to talk about that one, but we'll get to this.
Interview, LeBron talking about how he believes current players would fare in the end. Here's a little taste of the interview. LeBron talking about how he believes current players would fare in the NBA 50 years ago.
You trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s?
Answer. He wouldn't be able to do it.
Neither would you.
Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 200.
And Patrick McAfee already picked up on it. He said, "Neither would you," because you're speaking about Giannis, but you're really speaking about yourself because everyone knows you're better than Giannis. So that's the thing where it's like he think he's playing this stealthy ass game of chess, but it's very. I mean, for anybody with like, I don't want to say common sense, but that's not tied emotionally to this, probably could see that. That's all I'll say. Just based on, what he means. And that Pat, like I said, Pat literally picked up on it immediately. They said you couldn't do it. Because that's literally what LeBron want to say, but he wants to not come off as egotistical. Well, not so much egotistical, but he wants to come off as more, he's just less humble. Because if you was to say you was to do it, it causes a certain level of uproar. Versus you say Giannis, you make it, you distance yourself a little bit, but at the same time, you're still able to take on that narrative and say like, yeah, I could probably do that as well. Like it's a funny game, but like I said, even Pat McAfee picked on it.
150 points.
What the fuck? Well, I can't hear it.
Of the interview, LeBron.
What happened? What happened to my sound? That's weird.
Brian Windhorst for years. Never once did he say that LeBron was a best friend. A matter of fact, years earlier, who sat in front of the microphones and said, probably nobody knows me better than Brian Windhorst, who's been covering me since I was in high school. That's how he talked about it. Brian Windhorst.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Greg.
For ESPN. My show, Get Up.
My bad. Let's move on.
Talking about how he believes current players would fare in the NBA 50 years ago.
You trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s?
Answer. He wouldn't be able to do it.
Neither would you.
Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 250 points in a game in the 70s. 250.
Is that Kuzi? When was Kuzi playing?
All right, so Kuzi played in the 50s and the 60s. So there were so many things about this conversation that bother me. And I understand what he's saying. First and foremost, of course, he's right. Giannis Antetokounmpo would dominate, as any athlete in the modern day would. There were a couple of things that bother me about this. In the interest of time, I will limit my comments to two. One of them is the modern generation of player gets very, very sensitive when you compare them to players of the past. But they are very comfortable comparing themselves to player of the past. I don't love.
And that's essentially what we just said with the Windhorst thing. That's what I'm feeling with the Windhorst thing. I only think he really popped out at Windhorst because he was comparing him to Jordan, like essentially. And the fact that he wants to be like Jordan. So it doesn't put LeBron in it don't even put LeBron in a bad light, but it's not the light that LeBron even want to be in. It's like I said, it wasn't even that crazy of what he said, but the fact that he was getting compared, it frustrates him. And it frustrates a lot of other players as well because these guys have set a standard before. And it's no different. LeBron, 20 years from now, will be a part of that standard. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, however many years you want to look at it, but 30, 40, 50 years from now, LeBron would be a part of that standard of how the guys perform, and whether if they perform better than LeBron or worse than LeBron, he will be a part of those standards that will be a barometer for a lot of small forwards, a lot of superstars in the future to come. So that's just reality. And like I said, with these new day and age players, it's like they pick and choose when it gets sensitive. They pick and choose what narratives they don't like, but then at the same time, they don't have a problem spitting these narratives. They don't have a problem doing the comparisons when it's in their favor. They don't have a problem shitting on old guys when it's in their favor. So it's you got to pick and choose, and I feel like what they're picking and choosing is hypocritical. It's like you try to kill the old media. That's what they say with sports. They're killing old media, but at the same time, when I watch a lot of the new guys talk and speak, they do the same shit.
Of that inconsistency. The other part of it is, if all we're going to argue is players now are bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, well, then that's the end of the conversation. The Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line in the 1970s, the heaviest guy weighed 275 pounds.
And let's just get into it. With that conversation, it's an easy caveat to that we're more athletic, because it's going to be like, well, if we used to compare eras and you used to play in these against the era, what era are we playing in? Are we using the old school rules or are we using new school rules? Because we use the new school rules, we also should give the grace of thinking that these players that were professionals and great guys then would have evolved to be able to play now. I'm just saying, just like back in the day, if we go, you got to play old rules, you got to take away all of old modern advantages and shit as well, because it just would make sense to a degree. It's just like Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. Are you really telling me if he was put in the 2020s, you don't think he would be more athletic, more faster, like more technically, like, or however you want to call it? So it's just like, what are we saying? Like, if we think these people are all-time greats at their craft, they work extremely great at their craft, they just was limited based on the resources. If the resources change, it's just my inclination that they will rise with those innovations. So just the same, if y'all had to go play in the old school rules, I still think the players will be able to perform even without the same modern advancements that we have, but it wouldn't be fair to judge the players of not being able to play against them because they don't have those same advantages. It's not really based on the actual skills of players of the game. It's just more based on how time has progressed. And I think that's just a fair thing to do. It's just the same like with the rules. It's like if KD was playing back in the day with the hand checking and how people was aggressive, KD might not have been as dominant of a scorer. Vice versa, Michael Jordan playing in the ultra physical era, if he was to play in the rules today, the nigga might average 45. He might average 50. But it's just being real based on some dudes would have certain problems with certain things based on certain eras. And you would have to pick a rules. You couldn't pick both. You couldn't be like, we're going to play with the modern NBA rules and the old NBA rules. You got to pick. And you can obviously see how it might suit one type of player or not. So, yeah, it's just an unfair thing. Like I said, if you thought about Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, or many other, Elgin Baylor, just name niggas, Oscar Robertson. If you don't think them niggas would have been cooking today, you're crazy. Because what are you saying? They would just stay slow? They wouldn't have been able to work out and do all these different things? They wouldn't have had to train? Like, come on, bro. They wouldn't use the trainers that's available today? Like, what are we saying?
What position would he play now? Linebacker? So, I mean, obviously, we've gotten bigger, we've gotten stronger. All of that is obviously true. But the idea, that feels very disrespectful to me. There were great players in the 1970s. And by the way, Bob Lanier in the 1970s would have picked up Giannis Antetokounmpo and dunked him. And then Giannis would have been looking around saying, why isn't that a flagrant two? While he was flying into the stands. So, look, the players of today are brilliant players. Right. And I'm not taking anything away from them. And LeBron is on the very short list of the greatest players we've ever seen in the history of any sport in this country. But if the best argument you have is, well, look how much more athletic and skilled we are now, well, that's the end of any conversation, and it isn't an interesting one because it could be made for any sport at any time. The idea that those guys weren't great players then, as one who watched them play, it offends my sensibility. Here's a little tape.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. But let's see. Let's move on to some. Actually, let's look at the comments of this one. See what some other people are saying. Now we exposed the dialogue for a week about how LeBron interviewed bother every talking head. LeBron is again shifting the narrative to boost his own legacy, blaming losses on teammates, making excuses about roster, and degrading the past errors is all insecure, flexing to prop himself up. Be real, get grace. Don't need to rewrite history to prove their worth. Yeah, and I mean that's just reality. You don't have to. If you're so great, you don't have to put down other errors to prove your greatness. Modern players aren't uncomfortable comparing themselves to players of the past. They're defending themselves against lazy media narratives that's been used to discredit them. I mean, how many people are really sitting up here and saying that LeBron's not the GOAT based on how the 70s played basketball, though? Like, there's not really a narrative. The only thing with Jordan is just the amount of accomplishments that he's had. But it's nothing to do with the past. It's going to be the same for a guy in the future. Like, that's the thing. It's not a lazy narrative. It's going to always come. You're going to always compare the past because that gives your league lore. That gives your league history. That's how rivalries are built. That's how accomplishments are set because once a guy does something that's great, if a guy is able to beat that or pass that record, it gives a perspective on how great that was because of how it's just common sense. The Olympics do it, nigga. The previous old world records and all this other shit, the historic records, bro, because it puts into perspective how great these new guys are or not in a sense. So it just is what it is. Like I said, years from now, 10 years from now, LeBron and it's going to be a Wemby or some other guy that's a point forward or whoever, and the fact that they couldn't get 3 rings or 4 rings is going to put them at, even though they could be great as hell, less than LeBron. And how LeBron will be the narrative for many guys that won't meet the totem or won't meet that won't meet that bar. And it won't be no problem because it's showing how great LeBron is. But when a guy eclipses it, it's a lazy narrative. Or when a guy thinks someone's past his legacy, it's a lazy narrative. It's weird, bro. The reason players today are bigger, stronger, and faster due to technology, advances in medicine, nutrition, training, equipment. If modern players are subjected to the same conditions of the past era, they'll arguably be worse. And I wouldn't say this, but I wasn't going to say this, but it's arguable what this person is saying just based on, I think today we're more athletic, like they say, more individually talented. But when it comes to team basketball, team IQ, defense, hustle, just like good leadership, like a lot of that shit these players are missing, bro. I don't know whether it's the money, just too much fame or whatever it is, but I think after like 2010s, 2011s, like team basketball just kind of start to go out the window. And it just started to be isocentric shit until the Warriors kind of came around. And then you kind of seen a couple other teams like the Nuggets and shit like that. But for the most part, like most teams was trying to find a star to be ball dominant and be the next LeBron or something like that. And it just wasn't working out. But obviously, LeBron is a phenomenon, so there's not many people that could, I guess, mock that in a sense. And I think, like I said, I've been feeling this way. I think the laziness from just pulling up and shooting a bunch of threes, no mid-range game from guards, no post game, no footwork from big men, like. Most bigs don't even know how to post. Like, I do start to agree, kind of, maybe not so much the 70s, but if they were subjected to the same elements of the 80s and 90s, yeah, they might be a lot worse off. They might be a lot worse off. Not maybe a lot worse, but they might be worse off. And that's more of the average player than I would say the superstars, just to be frank with you. Like, I think LeBron would be able to, even with not being able to, if he was 30% weaker and 30% slower even in that past era, he would have still been fucking great with his IQ. Because, I mean, that's just what Magic did. So, I would the only thing with LeBron, though, is like the team defense, how niggas used to stack the paint and shit like that. And his jumper wasn't falling. Him not having a post game, him not having a mid range, that might be bad. Honestly, it might be. LeBron literally said those players were great in their era. Y'all consistently say this era wouldn't last and blank era. I don't hear that consistently, but it's a conversation. But that's a competitive conversation. It's nothing to be in y'all feelings about and try to condemn media for holding these takes or even old school players. Now, it do get horrible when the old school players don't give niggas any credit. And I think that's the flip side of what LeBron doing is sitting on the 70s and not giving them any credit. The hilarious how the NBA media sees no hypocrisies in their statements. They disrespect the era we're all watching now. But I mean, you can also say the views are at the all-time lows for this era. And when you think about that, that's the public actually feeling something, and then maybe the media pundits picking up on it by actually being journalists. So it's not necessarily that people are shitting on this era. I think there's a wide range of sentiment that the league is watered down. And NFL was going through that for a little bit too, but they figured it out. NBA seems like they're going through it right now where no one takes the regular season seriously because of all, and this is just like, we're not shitting on the league. Nigga, all of the players not playing through injuries, and I know that sounds crazy, but let's say not playing through pain, and they're acting like every little thing's an injury when they're getting paid millions of dollars to kind of push. They should be pushing through things unless it's like something that could lead to some chronic shit, then that's a different story. But even players just sitting out, that's killed the game in the regular season. The lack of defense, that's just horrendous. Like, niggas just having open lanes. The fact that it's a 3-point shooting contest, that's pretty boring. Let's just look up NBA standings and let's just see how boring some of these teams are as far as actually being contenders and wanting to watch them on a night-to-night basis and it not be a blowout. Honestly, 4 down from the East is nothing to really be entertained about. There's nothing to be entertained about. The Bucks has not figured it out. I mean, they had their moments this year. The Pistons are up and coming. But when we talk about the contenders, you got these 3 from the East. Let's move to the West. It used to be the West where you will have at least 5 to 6 teams that are contenders. You got 1, 2, Thunder and the Nuggets. Maybe the Lakers if LeBron and Luka figure it out just off superstar power. But like, bro, you get 3 teams from both conferences even then it's like the Lakers they're a mess at times. The Nuggets, they're cool. But like when we was in the 2010s, it's like you had ACs that was fucking entertaining. You had like even like the Memphis Grizzlies with no AC, but they were like the 6th seed with Rudy Gay, Conley, Zach Randolph. Like, I don't know, teams were just built and they had their own identity and all these other different things, bro. You had CP3 and them boys. You had the Utah Jazz at one point with the AK-47, Darren Williams and Boozer and shit. Like you had multiple teams that were hooping, bro. Like the Rockets was good, Dallas was good, the Blazers was good, like, and was actually like, nigga, if you ain't playing great, you might lose to them in the West. In the East, you had the Celtics, you had the Pistons, you had, depending on what eras of the East we're talking about, you had the East. I mean, you had the Heat, you had the Pacers, but like what actually has stars that you could rely on these teams. I don't know, man. Like, so it's a lot to complain about with this day and age. And you can also say like early 2000s. Like, no, not early 2000s. Well, it was like 2000, like, it was like around that lockout time. I want to say like 2006. It was one of them 2Ks. No, it wasn't even then. It was like 2K8 or 2K9 or something like that. I can't my mind is all over the place. It was one of them 2Ks I used to play, bro. And I looked at the rosters. I was like, man, it's only a couple teams you'll want to play with. But that's just me just kind of going off on a tangent. But I think it's different giving criticism versus like giving outrageous takes. And saying you could put up 250 on the era, it's like, it's disrespectful. But when you already show sensitivity to certain media narratives, I think you shouldn't just come out there and take these leaps of faith or these leaps of conversation when you was just criticizing media for being careless. And then you go back do exactly what they did. Let me see. We're going to react to a couple more videos.
That y'all say have the highest IQ of. Hey, look, man. LeBron, bro, I don't know. This is the dude that y'all say have the highest IQ of any basketball player ever. The dude's talking like he don't even know basketball at all. Like, this is why a lot of people really don't mess with LeBron. It's because he says such stupid, idiotic things. Like, Bronny could come and start right now on his own basketball team, players that he plays with. How unintelligent are you when it comes to basketball, where Bronny's doing decent now?
And I wouldn't even say basketball, but like just reality. If you're Mr. IQ, maybe it's just on the court, but when you try to be Mr. GM and shit too, you gotta keep that same IQ. Because when I asked the question, has he ever built a dynasty? Kicking Kyrie out of the Cleveland Cavaliers is a part of him fucking up and him being careless with how he moved and not thinking of the repercussions of trying to trade a guy like Kyrie after you just won a championship. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge the conversation that used to be out there. Obviously, Kyrie is taking his own responsibility and saying why he wanted to leave, but I honestly think it is bullshit because we all know when he went to that Celtics, it was a little bit of angst between him and LeBron for a little while. And it wasn't just because he wanted to go prove it on his own. LeBron tried to trade him for Chris Paul. LeBron tried to trade him for Paul George. And Kyrie heard about that shit. And if you was around the media conversations back then, that was maybe it was just a hell of a rumor, but I doubt it. Because he's made many moves like that where he ain't got niggas up out of here and tried to trade for people and shit like that. So, yeah. It's that's what when he said that IQ, that's what kind of hit with me.
Now, but in the G League, but like, dude couldn't even score in the G League. He couldn't even score in college. You think that he can start and play next to you in an NBA game? He's still not doing it now.
And I think Bronny's gonna be a decent basketball player. So I'm not really on that same wave, but it goes into LeBron not understanding how he put his son in a national conversation and how a part of this, even getting to this far, is his fault. And it's understandable to a degree you want to elevate your son, but if you really think he's great, just let him do his natural progression. You don't got to say things like, because he put his son on a national stage as a national conversation when he said he wanted to play with him. That was the start of it, where now Bronny could be open to criticism. But Bronny was on a decent trajectory at that point. You couldn't really say too much about him. He was a McDonald's All-American. He was kind of ranked high in his class. And then he got sick and when he goes to USC, and then he kind of underperforms. And I think a lot of people understood that could have been a possible reason and thought he should have stayed again. I think the criticism starts to come when it seems like LeBron forced Bronny out of the college ranks early just to fulfill the LeBron James dream. And that opened up Bronny to more criticism. So not only did LeBron already put Bronny on the national stage, a lot of the things that he done left Bronny up to public criticism. Sometimes it didn't necessarily hit Bronny, but it always left the door open. And that's the thing that I don't know if LeBron is conscious of or cognizant of, because that's just reality. No different when you, like you say, you try like this. He's supposed to be this IQ chess guy, but you do things and not realizing how it could backfire. You're only looking at the pros of if I confront Stephen A. Smith, not the cons of, damn, it's only putting more eyes on my son for people to be more critical in a sense. Or just instead of just letting him kind of just do his thing on the outside. When you go up and check this guy, it causes another stir of conversation around Bronny's name, and Bronny necessarily don't need in his rookie year. And it's no different with LeVar Ball and Lonzo. He put a target on his back, and it was for a different reason. It was him saying he was better than Steph Curry. And that target had guys putting way more pressure on him than he probably would have ever got if he just came in as a regular number 2 pick and ball. So you, as a parent, it was it's a pros and cons, because he also put his son into a platform that he might not have ever got. But even then, Lonzo was pretty good enough he was going to probably be a top 5, top 10 pick. But even how he done it, maybe LeVar could have done it a little bit cleaner. And I think he realized that with LaMelo, where he kind of took more of a backseat. He still went like on his media runs and shit like that. I just think he took more of a step back as far as the aggressiveness and things like that, especially with Melo coming from overseas and stuff like that, and that kind of not being looked at too highly. It wasn't that people just looked down on people, but like it's not a lot of black guys that go overseas and hoop and then come back and be like a number 1 pick. Like there's just not a precedence for that. So he could have easily slipped if LeVar just was playing too aggressively in a sense. And obviously LaMelo had the talent to back it, so it's a lot different. But yeah, you just have to be condescending. Like I said, with the Stephen A. shit, you only made Stephen A. get bigger. Like, you're not bigger, but you only helped him trend more. And as a guy that's here for entertainment, as a guy that's here to get views, you only helping his case. You only helping his contracts at the end of the year. Another moment where Stephen A. trends. And then the next 2 or 3 times he ended up bringing up the Bronny conversation, he went on Gilbert's Arenas. He milked it and made even more of a conversation of it. So that didn't help Bronny necessarily. That didn't open the door to helping Bronny. So it's a lot of things that LeBron has done, and I think that he assumes that everyone's just going to love everything he does and never going to criticize him. But at a certain point, I think he could have did a little cleaner. If he never said that 55 shit, he's better than most players, excuse me, a lot of that pressure wouldn't have been on him. But you say he's better. All right, well, now let's go check his college stats. Like, that's how people minds work. You can't say something and then people not go fact check you. So when they fact check you, now it's a lazy narrative. Nah, bro, it's just like people are going to go on reality, whether they right or wrong. Just because you look at a guy, he only had 6 points a game in college, like, that don't mean he can't be a pro. It's not a fact just because you go look at the stats, but it's not people being lazy either. It's not people taking shit personal. It ain't people trying to pick on Bronny. It's just like most niggas that score 6 points a game, you ain't looking at them to go be a star type shit or even be relevant a lot of times. And that's logical to a degree.
But LeBron said that last year. Now he's saying that Giannis can score 250 points in 1 game. Yo, what is wrong with this man? Like, Kobe would never say something this dumb. Jordan would never say anything this dumb and stupid. Like, are you emotional? Are you fighting some war? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he is, you know?
Like I said, if you're emotionally not connected to this, bro, I swear to God, this is my first time watching this video. And this nigga has referred to the exact things that I'm seeing and feeling as well. And then if Stephen A. go cover it and have the same points, it's not him being lazy. It's not him picking on LeBron. It's him seeing public sentiment, him talking to other people, and they're getting the same type of vibes, and then reporting it. It's just the report ain't in your favor, so niggas want to kind of shit on it. Like, but I'm a whole different man than him. I don't know who this nigga is. I don't follow him. I typed LeBron. I didn't even type it. I just went to the trending. I just got off work. I didn't even know the nigga was trending until I got off work. So, and as soon as I got on, nigga, I smoked the blunt and got on. I'm dead ass when I say I ain't stealing no content. When my literal title is what this last 5 seconds of what this nigga said is. It's crazy. Is he emotional? Is he fighting some type of war? Literally asked that question.
Never say something this dumb. Jordan would never say anything this dumb and stupid. Like, are you emotional? Are you fighting some war? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's emotional and fighting wars, you know, because a lot of people got things to say about him and his career in this era. So maybe he's just fighting back. But it's bad. It's bad news for him. It's a bad look for him, man. You got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, bro. You got, come on, man, Julius Erving, man. Come on, bro. None of these dudes was dropping 250 in one game, man. They wasn't even averaging 50, bro. It wasn't averaging nothing like that. And what is wrong with you?
And the pace back then was super fast, and they still weren't averaging it. We consider Kareem top 5. Most people consider Kareem top 5. He was playing in the 70s. John Havlicek, that nigga's a bucket. Most people say he's a bucket, and he could play in today's era. Elvin Hayes, I remember him being a bucket. Big E. Oh yeah, radio commentator. Okay, yeah, I'm about to say, bro, I know this guy from somewhere. I know that name, Alvin Hayes. Yeah. Walt Frazier. We know Walt Frazier was a bucket for the Knicks. Rick Barry. Come on, bro. Rick Barry, one of the coldest white boys of all time. What are we talking about? And that nigga was a bucket. Pete Maravich, bucket. A lot of people say he could play in this era. Bob Lanier averaged 20, 10, and 3, 1.5 blocks in 14 seasons as an MVP. .6'10". Okay, yeah, that's a big guy. I remember the name, but I don't remember him. Julius Erving. I mean, do we need to say? Come on, bro. We need to say more. Don't know who that guy is. Bill Walton. Bill Walton was a bucket. He was an absolute dog. So yeah, it's hell. Bob McAdoo, a dog. Part of many great Lakers championships. George Gervin, dog. Like Iceman Gervin. What are we talking about, bro? It's hella disrespectful, bro. So I get what they're saying, where it's like a lot of people did watch these guys play. Obviously, not me, but we're not that far removed where it was generations watching these guys play, and they eye test say them dudes was buckets. They just ain't had no 3-pointer, but niggas was still pulling up from mid. Niggas was still pulling up from deep. Jerry Lucas, I remember him. Jeff Mullins, I be hooping shit. I ain't drafted him a couple times on 2K. World Be Free. I remember him. I'm about to say, what was his real name? Leonard Free. Don Nelson. Well, not his real name, but his first name. Yeah, I like to do research on this channel. We ain't just gonna come up here and talk.
Is Giannis even on these dudes' level? Of course not. He's really not. Like, what are you even talking about, man? You talking about some of the greatest players ever. LeBron, like, you should be smarter than this, man. Even if you think Giannis is marginally better than Kareem or Julius Erving or even Wilt Chamberlain, bruh, you're bugging. You're bugging.
Because let's just be real. Wilt was more athletic than Giannis. Let's just be real. Wilt was more athletic than Giannis. Wilt was an Olympian. Wilt was a fucking high jumping Olympian. Like, what was Wilt Chamberlain? Trying to see something. Like it was talking about somebody else. Yeah. Let me see. City of Champions. College career. I know he played in the Olympic or what was the Olympian or something like that. I don't think I'm tripping. But even regardless, the dude was a hell of an athlete. You could argue he might have been more athletic than Giannis. And then to even be real, like, Giannis don't got no real great footwork or nothing like that to be in the modern era. Like, he is a phenomenon as far as being aggressive for his size and shit like that. But it ain't like he got a tremendous handle. It ain't like he got a good fadeaway or post-up game. He's okay passing the ball. So for a guy like Wilt Chamberlain to probably been more technically sound than Giannis is today, and Giannis got more advancements, if Wilt had them same advancements, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. That might be that nigga might make Wemby look like a like a bench player.
If you think that this man, Giannis, can score 250 points in one damn game, bro, is something wrong with you? LeBron, bruh, stop talking so much, dog. This is bad. It's disrespectful to past generations, man. Like, the people that paved the way for you, you sounding stupid, man. You fighting back. Maybe just don't fight. Stop talking. Just play your game and do your thing, man, and let your legacy exist. The more you talk, the more you just tarnish this thing, man.
I mean, it's gonna be tarnished to a degree from like the people that just gonna be critical, but honestly, it does come off a certain way when you just look at the psyche of things. Like, if you really think you're the greatest, bro, that shit don't have to be said. I remember we had a new defensive line coach, and I had already been at the school for like a year and some change, like making my name and shit. Started the year before. Like, wasn't no other really D lineman on my level. Like, I was more on. I was trying to compete to be the best defensive player on the team. I wasn't even worried about the D line. Like, I was trying to be the best player on the team, not even on defense. So I was more focused on that than worrying about somebody on the D line. That was like my sophomore and junior year, like just mindset. The new coach came in, D line coach, and one of the guys came up to me and was like, or this might even have been like, I don't know. It might have been actually my senior year or something like that. It was actually at the end of my senior year, now I'm thinking about it. And pretty much the new guys, like the juniors and stuff, becomes the focus for the new coaches. For the coaches and stuff like that, because now you more focused on going to school. They ain't training you, they ain't coaching you as much no more. So it was one day where I was just going to work out in the weight room, and one of the D linemen that's been on the team that I know everything about him, came up to me like, Coach Gann said I'm better than you. Coach Gann said I'm better than you. I looked at him, I laughed, and I walked off because I was unfazed. Like, nigga, he could, I didn't believe he felt that way, but even if he did feel that way, after the relationship I built with that coach and everything he seen me do, I still didn't care because I knew that dude wasn't better than me. Like, and even if he was, I still probably wouldn't have cared because I know how cold I am. And if you're better than me, good for you, because I was a dog. So for me, I knew my greatness was going to speak for itself, and that's just how I kind of approach things. And that's kind of, I think, the message that dude was kind of saying, like, if you just kind of quiet and just let your greatness speak for yourself, bro, like, that in itself speaks to your greatness because you're comfortable in your own skin, you're comfortable with your own success, but it don't seem like you are, and it seems like you want something more than, not even something, you may deserve it, but it seems like you're thirsty for it. And the greatest of all time, that shit speak for itself. It's just like people, they say with the Hall of Fame. If you got to really have a debate if that person should be in the Hall of Fame, should they really be in the Hall of Fame? And that's kind of that, why are you so thirsty? If you're so thirsty, it's like, are you really? Like, and that's just like I said, more psychological conversation that people pick up on.
On one of these shows not too long ago, like
Wendy. Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together.
I'm glad we get back to this. We might wrap it up with this. And this is kind of like that point I said with the Windhorse situation where I kind of look at it as a snake and things like that. Just on how he flipped on him so quick.
Like I seen Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago. Like
Wendy. Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together.
On one of these shows. Nigga, you know exactly what show it was on.
High school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
This guy was like, says he's like my fucking best friend. These guys are just weird, but these guys are just weird.
Pussy.
These guys are just weird.
You're gay! He's gay! All these gay. Everybody's gay.
These guys are just weird.
Gay.
This video took a crazy turn. I did not know this was where this video was going.
That's the gayest shit I ever heard.
These guys are just weird.
Yep, that's Pinocchio.
These guys are just weird.
That's tough.
Wendy.
Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
This guy was like, says he's like my fucking best friend. These guys are just weird, but and then you look at the big four that Boston had. Everybody talk about the big three, but everybody always decides that for some odd reason that Rondo wasn't as great as Rondo was.
Yeah,
it's always just the big three.
He's from Boston.
Not me.
LeBron
always saying
they say
that.
the big three, but fucking Rondo was when he was a dog. He brought it all. He made it all work with those guys because Ray wasn't bringing the ball up. You had Ray flying around. You had Paul when he get it at a certain spot, and Paul was a killer. And then you had KG was. I see a lot of shit too. Like I said, anchoring the defense, and also, you throw it to the low post. But they all started with the mind, and that was with Rondo.
And I don't think he's wrong by saying that, but I think it's the intent, and that go back to what I said earlier. I think people feel like his intent is that he's trying to boost up these teams, belittle the past, just in all to say Giannis can score 250 and all. Be a proxy to make his accomplishments look better. But he tries to make it seem like it's an organic conversation. But, it is what it is. And, I mean, even for me, if LeBron's the GOAT, what he's saying about Rondo is Rondo's the guy that facilitates shit and keep the ball moving and all that different things. Well, you are that guy. And people say that's why you're so great. You could be a scorer and this elite IQ passing guy. So not only, it's two guys compared to your one, but at the same time you're a GOAT, so you should be able to outpace and outmatch maybe one or two guys, maybe even three guys on certain nights when they talk about production for the team and shit like that. So it's like it's not like you was just because you had Mario Chalmers on your team or something like that, y'all didn't have a chance. Like, no, bro, you was the point guard and you still had other good role players along with stars that was with you. Rondo was no one at the time. Pierce, Allen, Garnett was all over 30 and on the decline in their careers. LeBron, Wade, and Bosh were all in their prime. Not even this nigga believes his own bullshit. I remember SportsCenter naming the Celtics Big Four during the 2010 playoff. Rondo was the best player for long stretches during the era. LeBron is stating the obvious, but you probably won't even born yet. Now, I mean, I think it was a big four. I'm not disagreeing with that, but like I said, with the age and everything like that, you still had competitive teams to be able to match up against them. I mean, supposedly you did it with less with the Pistons, against the Pistons, and many other situations that his fans would bring up. So it's like, why does it like he can carry teams past phenomenal teams all the way up until the finals or all the way up until these certain teams versus like what happened when they won 61 games and how that team was able to win 61 games. He was the reason they won all 61, like with no help. They got to all 3 rounds in the East with no help. Like, come on, bro. It's just like it's like you're picking people pick and choose. Exactly. Kobe beat the same team. And Kobe ain't had no big 4. Let's just be real. Went to 3 straight, won 2 out of 3. And one of the toughest time to win the chick, the Wessel stack from 1 to 8 every year. And Boston would have went to the finals too if KG didn't get all 3 finals if KG didn't get hurt. I thought this was just utterly funny.
Swung on him. Immediately. That man put his hands on me. I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That man put...
That shit brings me to tears. I ain't gonna lie. Immediately kills me. That nigga so full of shit, but it's entertaining. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's still... Here's the problem with what LeBron James did. It's still disrespectful to the previous eras. And there's no call for it. And so when he does what he does on that level, that's him, passive aggressively yet again, finding a way to take shots because inherently he has a problem with himself being compared to dudes from previous eras because folks talk about him. They talk about what he would have been. For example, he's not my GOAT. He's Shannon's GOAT. He might be yours or somebody else. He's not mine. Why do I say that? Because the road to prosperity that he had to travel, I believe going up against the old guard like Jordan and them, they would have stopped him before he learned how to win. I'm not talking about LeBron once he learned how to win. I'm talking about the LeBron that was absent prior to that person that showed up. And if you got to go up against a killer like Michael Jordan and others who would try to snatch your heart right out of your chest, I believe somebody like Jordan would have impeded his path. Nobody.
That's an interesting point, man. I said I don't want to get into that bag because I want to give LeBron the credit of being able to adapt. But it's an interesting point just based on how he plays the game. Like he said, even in that era before he learned to win. And I would even say after he learned to win to a degree, just based on, you got to understand how stacked some of those teams used to be. Like that wasn't even winning. Like that Magic team with Shaq, like Penny, Anderson, and many other good role players. You still had Charles Barkley out there. He had 2 or 3 good stars with him and role players. You still had Clyde. You had the Pacers. Like you had the Knicks. Like it was a lot of teams out there. And the thing is, like LeBron has been fortunate later in his career not to have to play in a big man era. Bro, back then they had 2 Twin Towers on every team. So if you could get to the paint, don't get it twisted. That's what made Jordan so great, and Clyde and many other guards, Isaiah. They was able to get to the paint, but they also had mid range. They also had, I think, was able to make tougher shots than LeBron can make consistently. And it just would be interesting because of how certain teams stack the paint. Like even with like when no, what is it? The Charles Barkley rule, 5 seconds in the paint. So 1999. So by that time, Jordan was done winning rings. So it just depends on when you talking about placing LeBron in the era. But most definitely. If you talk about early 90s, how teams could just stack the paint and how teams was more defensive oriented, like, I don't know, man. It's a good argument. It's a good argument. I like to be a little more fair, but I do think there would be certain players that would have a major problem playing in those eras. The physicality, like certain players like KD or what's some other players I think probably have some troubles in this era or the old era. Maybe a Devin Booker. Nigga complain about double teams. Like, good luck. Like James Harden with the flopping. Like if and shit like that. Like certain that shit wasn't gonna fly back then because they wasn't giving you calls for real when they was really fouling you. A flop? Oh yeah, you just lost the possession. Turnover. Like I just don't know. But outside of that, I do think James Harden have a good game. But I'm just thinking like some of that like mentalities of certain players, they might have had trouble trying to fit into some of these older, grittier eras. Meanwhile, if a gritty player is going to an era that's less gritty, I think that favors them a little more versus a player that's not really born from a grit and trying to go to a grit. It's like, nigga, it's like the Bane conversation to Jordan, nigga. To Batman. He's like, nigga, you merely adopted the darkness, nigga. I was born in it. That's that type of conversation. So certain eras do have their advantages, and if we want to keep their advantages in, that's an interesting conversation too. Because I said, you got to pick a certain era, and I think you should kind of give the grace to those players that they think they are just to certain eras. But let's just say you use the technological advantage of these guys being super athletic, but not playing with real defense, not really being gritty, receiving like just not being physical either. Like niggas just not being in like as far as endurance, like the niggas just get hurt all the time versus like put them against the old school guys with the hand checking, the physicality, being able to foul hard, and being able to have 5-second rule and shit like that. Meanwhile, the other team can't have a 5-second. Like the other team has a 5. I don't know. That shouldn't be crazy. That should be crazy. I'm just saying, if you was to keep the advantages in, defense and grit could get it done. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody was going to impede Kobe. Nobody was going to impede MJ. Nobody's going to impede Duncan and people like that. But him, I believe he would have been impeded, which is why I have Jordan there.
And I think that's the conversation I like to have too. That people try to give LeBron as being more. He has more tools to use on offense. I disagree. Being able to pass is a tool, but most superstar dudes still know how to make the right pass and shit like that. I think the real adaptability is when you could post up, you can hit a mid range, you could hit a fadeaway. You could catch off the dribble, 1-2, pull up, whatever. Like you could triple threat, kill niggas. You could play half court phenomenally. You could play full court phenomenally. I think LeBron is limited in certain aspects because he's not developed in the mid-range. He's not developed in the post. He's not a master of any of those type of things versus Jordan and Kobe mastered the mid-range in the post. And I think those are the adjustments you need because, like I said, this is just key basketball, especially if you talk about eras being able to stack the paint or being able to collapse on you on the paint every time you try to take it to the hole. And that's happened against great defenses on LeBron, and that gave him trouble to certain degrees. But when you're able to hit that mid-range, when you're able to post up and then fade, it adds another dynamic to where even if they did stack certain and do certain things, you still have a response to it. And that's what I think Stephen A. may be hinting at when he says those type of things, because I've had that theory in my mind for a while where with a Kobe, it's hard to stop them even with a double team because they'll fake post and then kill you with some other type of move. Like you'll have to send 3 people, like Kobe loved to say. And he ain't really even thinking about passing. He could still kill you. And if he do make the pass, obviously you can make a pass when there's 3 people holding you. Like anybody, a 10-year-old could do that. I'm being funny. But being able to break them dudes down and still get a bucket, that's a different level.
The previous eras are what enables you to be who you are. We look at this industry, for example. What would we have been if it were not for Stuart Scott? What would we have been, Doggy, if it were not for the Dick Vitales? What would we have been if we didn't have somebody like a Howard Cosell to lean on and to see what he brought? Every single era you point to has a previous era that paved the way. We didn't see a Giannis because a Giannis didn't exist. It had to, the game evolved, and as the game evolved and whatever they put in the food and got dudes growing to be 7 feet and run like that or whatever, you saw that kind of capability. It didn't exist in the world in the 70s or the 60s in a lot of people's eyes. Fair enough, but when Doggy brings up Bill Walton, have you seen Bill Walton play? Did you see him in the 70s? Did you see his hops? Did you see his mobility? Did you see his athleticism before his feet gave way? Bill Walton was something special. And so I'm just saying that when you allude to the previous eras, right, and you do so in that kind of way, what you're doing is showing a disrespect that's sprinkled with resentment because you hate the fact that people are able to point to a previous era and talk about what you're not.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm on fucking fire right now. I ain't gonna lie, I'm on fucking fire right now. If these hoes hit, I'm already up. I hit again. I almost hit on 2. It's still oh man, hey man, hold on, man. This shit crazy. I'm almost up 200 on the bets just tonight. I ain't almost hit 3 out of 4 days. And I'm low key might hit on 4. Oh shit! I turned up. I ain't gonna lie. Austin Reed need a 0.5, either point or assist. He going into the third quarter. Halliburton he had 28. I need 30.5 PRA. And he going into the fourth. The third quarter just ended. I hit on this one. Justin hit, Poole hit, Finney hit, and that was all me. That was all on me. I ain't even looked at nobody. James, Aaron Naismith, Kawhi, and then they all hit. I just need Obi to get 4 more points or either rebounds, and I hit on that one. So I really already hit on 1. And it's most likely them other 2 hit. I mean, this other one hit. So it's most likely I hit 2. But if OG churn up, I hit on 3 today. And I still got another one open that's hit green 2 already. And the other 2 dudes just in the first quarter. I might hit on 4. Oh my God. This is my first time looking at them hoes. That's crazy. I forgot I'm streaming, bro. This shit crazy. Oh my God. That's crazy. Yeah, hey man, we about to wrap this up. I'm about to go wash. I'm lying. I'm about to go watch the rest of these games. At least this OG game. I gotta go see what he do. It's 7 minutes left. I gotta go turn up, man. It's lit, man. It's been fun. Man. This shit crazy. I'm out of here, man. Peace.